Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
Name's MacGyver.
Colonel Jack O'Neill, SG-1.
My name is Pratt. Ernest Pratt.
I always get a happy, tingly feeling when I see those guys.
Name one contract that I failed to execute.
MacGyver.
Oh, here we go.
You're a target. And I don't intend to miss.
Over my rotting corpse. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Glowing eyes, cliche behavior, evilness, that kind of thing. Is mental illness contagious?
You think?
You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind. Well, you do have a penchant for pulling brilliant ideas out of your butt. Head. Out of your head when we need them. Oh, the stuff's already here. I just find a different way to use it. I like your attitude.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mac Jackson.
And I'm Nathan Shell.
And foremost, I got to apologize to everyone for the long wait in between episodes. I'll tell you, besides holidays and just random,
You might want to check your phone jack because you're getting a little staticky.
I don't like that. Pushing it in there. The third way, that's not good.
Yeah, now your camera got waylaid.
Fix it. 2 seconds. I say 2 seconds. Fix yourself, Cam. There we go.
A little better.
Okay, good. So, anywho, in my perfect world, I could crank one of these out every couple weeks. But for me, besides, like I said, everything going on, holiday, boy, and after the holidays just flew by. One of the things I was doing was promising myself, I'm trying to go in order. This, the Never Get Old podcast, and as soon as I finish the audio series episode.
Right.
Well, ironically, I have a backlog to be on the Never Gets Old podcast, which is more general. The problem I'm facing with this one is people are saying, yes, I want to be on it, but now you got to pin them down.
Right. People's availability with things returning to some semblance of normalcy. People have gotten cabin fever for the last ever.
Yeah.
So we've gone out and about and, tried to get back to some level of enjoyment.
Yeah. Check your microphone too, as a matter of fact, because it's, I guess mine was doing, which is weird. Because
we'll just do it this way.
But so yeah, my thing was, okay, we're not doing a MacGyver episode and pin somebody down. And a couple of those fell through. I don't know if your I don't know if your microphone's working. Nope. That's okay. The charm of us doing an episode after. So anywho, I thought, no, I'm not going to do another episode of something else. Episode because people that look forward to this. Where I feel want people go another episode enough of the series, but that's put together. I cast and the Never Gets Old. There's not much of an exception as long as I have a guest, but I thought, is your microphone away?
I didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right.
So I thought, such as my son, Wednesday stuff. I don't want to be a pet. But no, I haven't talked to you before.
Admittedly, it's been a while. Yeah, I know for sure we saw each other around
Halloween.
Around Halloween because we did that little get together. Yeah.
So,
yeah, your audio is still cutting out for some reason. That's really weird.
I don't know why. Afraid to. Oh, there goes.
Yeah, there's your video guy.
It's not a big deal because that I've learned to just click on and then it'll restart the timer.
Right.
But yeah, get me off. So that's better, or at least
Hopefully. For now.
Yeah, and hopefully it won't drive everybody crazy. But anyway, yeah, I thought let us, and then we could do a review of either a Stargate or a MacGyver. And I thought do Nightmares. That's season 1. Of course, here's the dilemma I have. Much of a dilemma, but I have to go back and make sure we never talked about it before because I could have swore we have talked in passing.
We might have referenced it.
But we never focused on it.
Yeah, like I think we had talked. I think you and I had talked about doing that one soon. In the grand scheme of things, soon.
Yeah.
And because it's one of those episodes that I heard the title when you sent me the message about the title. I'm like, okay, I am 90 to 95% certain I remember exactly which episode this was. And unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to do a rewatch. But so I went on an IMDb because they have those photos of a still from the episode. And as soon as I saw one shot, I'm like, I know exactly which episode it is. All right, I'm good. I know which one it is. And I know had I said that in front of my wife, she would have been like, you are such a nerd. I'm like, I can't help it that I can figure out an episode from a still.
Hey, that's education.
Or at least narrow it down to like 2, maybe 3 episodes. Because there are some similar shots between some episodes. But it was funny because I'm like, yep, I know exactly which one that is.
Anything new and exciting with you before we dive?
Well, I've been getting into, I mentioned to you before, the D&D. I've been doing that weekly. It went from weekly for D&D to every other week for D&D, but then on the off weeks, it's a cyberpunk game, which is basically D&D, but in the future with tech and stuff like that. Really fun, really absurd silliness that we get into. I've started doing streaming on Twitch, where I've gotten, maybe like 24 followers, But I get on like Tuesdays and Fridays typically for about 3 hours.
Now, Twitch is, I'm not as familiar.
Yeah,
I know there's
Twitch,
Stitcher, which is what? It's only up for a limited time. It's
no, that's something else.
Okay.
With Twitch, it's you can stream. I've seen people do podcasts that way. I've seen people do, hey, I'm working on this build. Why don't you follow along to watch how I build this? Keep me company, or people just sitting around doing kind of like an informal Q&A type thing. A lot of people use it for streaming video games where they'll sit there, play a video game with their camera, kind of like how I have used it up here at our place or at my place. And like, our listeners aren't going to hear it, but like in the upper left corner of the screen, people would have a video of like me or whomever.
Sure, and the rest of the screen is
the rest of the screen is a video game. And I try to keep it fairly easygoing. Last night I was streaming for about 3 hours playing Halo.
So there's no time limit with it, is
No. The videos typically stay up, from what I understand, for about 30 days. But in that 30 days, you can download it and then throw it up on like YouTube or whatever, which is what a lot of people do, like if they're doing like an ongoing series. Because that's what I did with my first Cyberpunk playthrough. I went and I downloaded, at the end of each night, I downloaded the entire 3 to 4 hour block, which took some time. Takes up a lot of space on your flipping hard drive too.
Sure.
And then if I felt like I needed to go in and fix anything, I'd go in and fix it. I only had to do that twice. Once where in the middle of my session, I got a text message from a friend of mine. He ended up having gone to the hospital and he needed a ride to get home. Well, Mac, you know me, I don't drive. But I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I called my dad. I said, hey, is there any chance you could give me a hand or help me out with something? A buddy of mine is in the hospital and he needs a car ride home. That's it? Yep, that's fine. Okay, not a problem. Nice. So like I had an hour stream, was gone for 2 hours because we had to wait for the hospital to get off their butt to discharge him. And then got home, and I had about another hour's worth of stream that I could do. So I hopped on, said, "Hi," for anybody that's joining me again, thank you, you know, and I just did like another hour. When I got off, I'm like, okay, right here's where I gave myself a little bit of blank space so that I could stitch the videos together, and I did.
Huh.
So, you know, did that. I've made some pretty interesting friends in the different communities that I've stumbled upon. Like there's a group that does house builds on The Sims. So I'm like, okay, that could be fun.
I used to play that.
Yeah. And now they're on Sims 4, which just boggles my mind.
Mine was on my phone.
Okay.
And I did Jack's house.
Of course.
Yeah.
I would expect nothing less.
Right.
That
type of thing.
But it was funny because we did they wanted to do a Victorian house. I'm like, oh, great. You know, nothing like, you know, being thrown into one of the more complicated house styles known to man. Fine, whatever. So they posted a photo of this house, and it was a pink Victorian style house. And I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, I've seen this before. Here it was on one of those home and garden shows, like going over like old houses and stuff that I'd caught with my mom. So I'm like, I think that's the pink lady from over in California somewhere. So I typed that up, and I was able to find 2 more shots of it because it was a 3/4 shot where you could see the front of the house and the right-hand side of the house, and a little, you know, kind of like down at a bit of an angle so you can see somewhat of the roof line. So I'm like, okay, that's great. But for me, I like seeing all aspects of a house if I'm going to try to recreate it.
Sure.
So I was able to find a straight on front shot and a straight on right side shot. So I'm like, okay, that kind of helps.
Huh?
So I hopped into the game and I kind of acclimated myself with it. And I had to remind myself and learn really quickly, being the son of a carpenter, being someone who likes to fabricate things to scale if possible, you can't do that in The Sims. You have to do it to roughly 3 feet,
right? Because
that's about the width of a door.
Yep.
So I recreated this, and I was so proud of myself because I figured out there was an added control that you could type or you could hit to give you a little bit more control over the roof line. And with the way the one tower, I say tower, it's not really a tower. It's like a, you know how some houses have that like rounded bump out?
Yeah.
Like the older houses. This had one of those, and it had like almost looked like the roof line or the dome type style that you see in like in Russia and like St. Petersburg Square. So I'm like, okay, well, how the heck am I going to recreate something like that? And I just was futzing around with the controls and figured out how to like manipulate the roof line a little bit more than just, you know, size this way and size this way. You could actually kind of like bubble things out a little bit, and that's what I ended up doing. So I'm doing this on the stream, and I'm chatting with the other ladies in the group, and or the ladies in the group, I should say. And the one lady's like, "Well, how did you do that?" I'm like, "Oh, well, here." And I actually walked her through in my stream because we were all streaming together. So she's like, "Well, hold on, let me switch over to your stream so I can see your video." And sure enough, she's like, "Well, that's pretty cool." She goes, "How long have you been playing The Sims?" I said, "About 30 minutes." So it was fun. It's really interesting to see, like, there with any kind of group, unfortunately, you'll always have kind of like toxic aspects and stuff. But the groups that I've stumbled upon, they've been pretty supportive, pretty fun, very chill. Like the one lady, she does a mix of cosplay, pinup, and occasionally burlesque shows, like outside of Twitch. Twitch has guidelines, which, you know, if people are smart, they'll follow, because otherwise they'll, you know, get kicked off the platform. But she was playing a game where it was presented to her as kind of like a kid-friendly spooky game. So she's like, okay, this is kind of something just silly to play for, you know, while it's, you know, just go through, play the story, whatever. About 20 minutes into the installment that I'd hopped in, she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" Because on a lot of these platforms, I go by Indiana. So she's like, "Oh, hi, Indiana. How are you?" You know, because up until that point, I had engaged with her through like some of her other social media. And I said, well, I'm finally at a spot where I can catch one of your streams. I'm going to check it out. And she's like, well, cool. This is kind of like a silly, spooky or spoopy, kind of silly game, but it's fun, 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden things take a turn. And she's like, oh God, what have I done? So it was just kind of funny because I didn't realize it at the time, but some of these people, once they make what's called affiliate, basically it just means you have a regular amount of people that hop into your chat and engage you in conversation. You have a certain number of viewers, which usually goes hand in hand with the engagement in the chat. And then you have a certain number of people who have followed your page or sort of like subscribed, but free.
Sure.
And basically what that means is, they don't pay anything, which is fine. That's usually what I do. But once you hit what's called affiliate, you can start doing things that can generate you a little bit of money. I know there are people on the platform that have like thousands, if not millions of followers, subscribers, whatever. That's great. I'm not narcissistic enough to like make that my whole personality. Like I remember telling somebody like, look, if I get affiliate and can just maintain the affiliate status, like whatever the minimum requirements are, I'm happy with that. I don't need to make, gang bang money or anything like that. My goal is to hope to provide some form of entertainment for people that like my absurdity. I like to think I'm fairly witty and clever. But, unfortunately, one of the things that does hinder me is the fact that I only stream 2 nights a week.
But hey, guess what? We do these.
Exactly. I mean, we can set our own pace. We can set our own schedule. And that's, I don't want to do something like a lot of people are often like, well, how can you make money on that? How are you going to? It's like, you don't need to make everything about making money. Once you take a hobby and you start making it about making money for yourself, all you're going to do is kill your enjoyment for that hobby.
So next up, we'll talk about the episode nightmares, but I just wanted to throw in a funny little thought that you may remember. Remember our friends Bob and Renee that we told you about, who Renee, we made the deal. If you watch just 5 episodes.
Yeah, you were trying to get them into Stargate, if I recall correct.
Yes. Well, we've been watching, we only had to watch a handful of Supernatural, but we're on season 2. So, and it's not even the good stuff from what people say.
Oh, so, yeah, no. I think I remember mentioning to you, some of the seasons get a little.
Sure. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's the best way to put it.
However, they came to my brother-in-law's wake 2 nights ago. And, that was god awful. I just went into the other room away from people because I can't, my mother's running around being social and like, oh yeah, this is such.
Some people can put up the social
strength,
atmosphere, strength. Yeah,
I just was on tears for the last week. So they come in, and after they go through the line, they come over and they're talking to us. And Renee goes, "Hey, I wanted to tell you guys." And I'm thinking, okay, there's only one story I really want to hear from you, Renee.
Right.
And she goes, well, I got through all the Marvel things. I am caught up. How about that? Like she's like, how about that? We're now ready to see. We're on Moon Knight, which is tonight. And then Friday is Doctor Strange, which we're probably going to go see it with them.
Yeah.
But I have watched since I last saw you guys every Marvel thing that there is.
Okay, great.
Bravo, great. However,
what about the other list?
I look at Cindy. She looks at me. She gives me the nod of go ahead. I said, Renee, as fascinating as that is, how about the other thing? The other thing, really? Oh, I said, I don't want to hear anything about, you're not getting a pat on the back for Marvel. We have told you to, I tried. No, you didn't. Like, I'm not even going to give her an inch. I tried. Right. No, you didn't. You didn't watch anything. And she turns to her husband. He goes, you didn't try.
Oh. Oh.
He's like, no, you're on your own. You don't.
No mercy from him either. Whoa.
Well, he had said, because again, as you know, we sell it as it's excellent right from the beginning, but it really picks up at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And
because the stakes are literally thrust upon you.
Yeah, and it never turns back. Is my screen glitchy?
A little bit, but
Okay.
That just could be the internet being weird.
Okay. I mean, nobody really cares, but as long as you can hear me, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes, well, okay, I will. I said, I don't want to hear it. We had to watch only 5 episodes of your show, and you couldn't bother to even start on ours. We're in 2nd season of Supernatural, by the way. We had to get through a lot of crap, and you know it. She's like, yeah. So, well, with Stargate, there's no crap. And by the way, the reason that you love Supernatural is the relationships, right? She goes, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I said, then what do you think we're talking about with SG-1?
Yeah.
Like that.
Absolutely.
This is not about going through the Stargate. This is about them, how they react to each other.
Mm-hmm. And how they help lift each other and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, so all right, I will. So I don't want to hear it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Come to me when you're far in. When you're on like season 5, then you can come back and brag to me how much you love it, because it will change your life. It sets the bar so high. She goes, ooh, I don't know. I said, it will. Listen, you like Supernatural and you admit that there are crappy seasons. Yeah. I said, okay, 8 seasons of SG-1 are perfect, and you're going to see what I mean. You're going to judge everything else by that. And she looks at Cindy, and Cindy's like, it's my favorite show ever.
Yeah.
So
Stargate is one of the SG-1 specifically is one of those shows. Like, I had actually gone through and did a rewatch, and through the rewatch, I didn't, and admittedly, it had been a while since I had done a rewatch, but I'm sitting there watching it, and even the 2-parter, like Heroes.
I knew you were going to say Heroes.
Is like, I had commented on someone's thing on TikTok, because I found Stargate TikTok. I stumbled upon Stargate TikTok, and a guy by the name of Colonel Dixon, which I think he was one of the guys that was on SG Command back in those days. He had done an audio stitch where it's the audio from Saul Rubinick's character going about, how it's important that they document what's going on in the SGC and everything. And like, even just hearing the audio with him standing there, like miming that he's the character, I still got chills. Like, and that is one of the best 2-part sci-fi drama, whatever you want to classify it as, 2-part cliffhangers that I would say, out of the history of TV, it's up there with the famous one from TNG, where
the Borg.
Picard, the Borg, where Picard became a Borg. It's up there in that caliber. It is a phenomenal 2-parter, and if I remember correctly, that was a mid-season finale or a mid-season break.
Yeah,
but it's so impactful, even so much time after it originally aired. It carries that weight. It's one of those shows, like the original MacGyver, has aged well because the message, the emotional impact still resonates. Now, yes, some things don't necessarily make as much sense in a more modern society from MacGyver, but the message is what's important. It's not the setting.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen that you could say that about would be if they're the phones in their car, but who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it just cosmetic nonsense is what it would boil down to. But yeah, it's just it's fun finding new people that are just into these things as much as we are.
Well, Pluto, I don't know. I have a Fire Stick. Pluto has a 24-hour Stargate channel.
Yep. Which
is all the shows and all 3 movies, the main movie and then the 2 after the series.
Yep.
So if there's nothing else on, I flip over and see if it's what's on.
Right.
And as soon as I see Jack, I'm like, your eyes are just drawn to him. He is so fun
Yeah.
to watch. And it's not even his focused episode.
Yeah.
He came in for a line or two, but you're like, oh, I need more of that. Like he's so like Sydney and I just chuckle and look at each other, like just love him so much.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything spectacular, but the way it's like the David Tennant thing. It's that natural, your eyes are drawn to him because every little movement that he makes with his eyes or whatever, you're like, give me more.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the subtlety of what he does with the character.
right? He wasn't told to do it. I told you when we saw him last, Cindy asked him about a certain scene. He goes, oh yeah, we would just do that. We felt like even if the camera wasn't on us, if I kind of put my hand towards Carter a little bit, you could feel it and think, and he goes, nobody told me to do it. It's you go, all right, I'm losing myself in this character gladly, and it pays off so
absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's those little characters are often always assumed to be defined by the loud, big moments.
Right.
Not always. A lot of times it's those quiet moments.
Mhm.
Like, as you said, Jack just, putting a hand towards Samantha to show that he's there, or, Daniel, glancing back to check to see if, whoever's in that particular scene with him follows what he's rambling about,
Right.
It's those little things that make the characters more real, more genuine.
Well,
otherwise you just are, the stiff, okay, moving like a robot. That doesn't work.
Right. And
I mean, good Lord, even when they were the robots in a couple episodes, they were still
them
not jerky with their movement.
Right. Because they didn't know they were robots.
Exactly. Yeah.
On that note, let's move on to the episode Nightmares.
Yes.
Let me see. I will give you a brief description before we get into the specifics. Thank you, sweetie. My daughter brought me some tea.
Well, that was rather nice of her. I am also drinking some tea.
Nice. This is a hot tea, a caramel hot tea.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Caramel tea with a little bit of caramel, and it's really good.
Okay, so the plot summary. MacGyver is kidnapped by enemy agents to retrieve sensitive information he stole from them. To get him to talk, they inject MacGyver with a hallucinogenic drug that will kill him in 6 hours unless an antidote can be administered. So, again, I not that I need to watch it before we talk about it.
But it's always nice to have that refresher. Plus, it's any excuse, really. I mean, come on.
Exactly, yeah. So it starts off, and this is the first episode where you see Pete being his boss.
Yes.
This is the one where, I remember going, I don't know, watching it previously, going, okay, now this feels like they found their
footing,
their groove with the entire cast. Like, he's supposed to hand off the thing to Pete. Well, he's been at sea, he said. That's, where it starts off. He's commenting on that. And Pete's kind of looking around and the bad guys are watching them. And MacGyver goes to get his glasses. And Pete goes, wait, not here. MacGyver continues to take his glasses out and go, a little nervous, are you? Yeah. And it's nice because with that episode, I remember feeling comfortable with Pete, whereas the previous episode he's in the Gauntlet, not the Gauntlet. Was it the Gauntlet? Is that the name of it? It's going to bother me. It's the one where they're in the house and you first see Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is the Gauntlet.
Okay, well, wait a minute, because I'm thinking the Gauntlet is the one earlier than that.
Well, part of it is some of the plots, you hear the plot and you dissociate it with a title that would make sense for the plot.
Exactly.
And yeah, so like I said, that's part of the reason why I'll flip through IMDb and like, oh, okay, I got the still. I was able to.
The Gauntlet is the one, episode 4, with the photojournalist.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have to basically run a gauntlet. But it's the one with Quail is the one I was thinking. That's when Pete first shows up.
All right.
And he was kind of like, is he our Murdoch? No, he's not our Murdoch. But they were trying. You could tell that they were like testing the waters.
Yeah, they were putting out. That was like, okay, here's a rough draft. Okay, not quite the right vibes we were feeling, but still not a bad episode. Let's go with this. You know.
Yeah, Deathlock, which coincidentally is the next episode, at least in the listing here, but it didn't premiere in that order.
Yeah, because TV always does weird nonsense like that.
Yeah. Well, anywho, so by this time, it's the second time you're really seeing Pete, and he's found
where he's actually Pete, not some other person.
Right. And he is working out of the federal building for the DXS.
Yes.
Which he will get a promotion soon enough as head of that. And then they move. They never. This is the little things about MacGyver that if you're us and you pay attention, they never say, by the way, now they've moved their job to the Phoenix Foundation.
Yeah.
It's one of those behind the scenes that they didn't even
something
mention.
happened and now it's no longer this, but it's now that.
Well, I read a description where Pete got promoted to go over from DXS to the Phoenix Foundation and ask MacGyver to come with him. Yeah. So he said, yeah, sure. But we never see that on screen. You're getting segments of their life. Yeah. And it's one of the, it shows that, and this is something I always loved about MacGyver. It showed that these characters have more going on in their lives than what we're seeing at any given moment. And you always want more. I always felt the same thing with Grissom on CSI, which they intentionally said, we're not going to show you their personal lives. Well, with someone like Grissom, it could have benefited because people really even just a little glimpse here or a little glimpse there. Not like a full-on episode of Grissom's Day Off, but but maybe have him stop by, his favorite, food stall that sells like this eclectic whatever thing. Well, when they showed his apartment or where he lived the first time, I'm like, oh, okay, look around. Oh, he's got butterflies on the wall. Okay, that even stuff like that. It's the little glimpses of their personalities. They're the things that they're into. Yeah. So they're walking. Oh, and before MacGyver meets up with Pete, he sees a girl fishing, and the girl is Lisa Allen, but the actress's name is Tammy Lauren, who was in everything during those years. Yeah, she was I've seen that girl someplace. That was that point in her career. I've seen this girl someplace, and then you get like a dozen different things that people would rattle off. And very specific. Like when you see her, there's no mistaking. Her voice is a very certain. She's got a distinct voice, and her look is, I don't want to say generic, but she's not glamour. Her look is a very typical look of the time frame. Right. So yeah, she's trying to fish and she pulls up a bunch of seaweed. MacGyver starts talking with her and says, do you mind? Now, I love, he starts talking to her, but the whole time he's not presumptuous. And it's the little Richard Dean Anderson-ness where he's like, what you need is a lure. Something shiny. And he finds the bubblegum wrapper. But before he goes over and just does it, he looks at her and it's very subtle, but he goes, do you mind? And does it. Well, he talks about how his grandfather showed him that. Little bonus in Harry's last episode at the end of season 5. I think it was around season 5, yeah. Was it? I think so. Yeah, it was because his hair was really long. But by that point he had gotten a little bit cut. So I remember that. Anyway, before Harry dies, he happens to be making the exact same thing with a bubblegum wrapper. It's like a little bonus if you it's that little callback. Yeah. Yep. And I remember fishing around that time with my father. And we would go to the same pond and I decided, hey, he gave me a piece of gum. I said, okay, thanks. And I start folding it. My father goes, what are you doing? I'm going to use it as a lure. That's not going to work. Exactly. That's not going to work. No? Okay. But I folded it where obviously all the shiny parts are there. Cast it out. got it. And I pulled in the fish. I said, not going to work, huh? And he goes, well, it's going to get wet and you're not going to be able to use it forever. I'm like, that's not really the point.
Only need to use it once.
Yeah, right? So I always remember that. That's not going to work. Okay. It worked. So then they start seeing the bad guys coming towards them, and he says to Pete, they're your guys? Nope. Which one do you want? He goes, both. Get out of here. You sure? Get. And like yells at him. So MacGyver takes off running. Pete ducks down behind a car and immediately gets shot.
Yep.
Like, son of a bitch, which, you know what, is realistic.
More than likely, yeah. I mean,
people get shot. You can't just hide behind a bumper and
not get hurt. Yeah. Like, that's one thing I will say. I'm glad shows have started to realize that making their hero bulletproof, it's unrealistic.
Especially in the 80s, that's all that there was before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the A-Team. I don't think any member of the A-Team ever got shot.
And when what about in the credits where the Jeep flips over and lands on the people and they get out and go, oh, I'm woozy. I better sit down and wait for the cops to show up.
Yeah, they walk, they stumble out and they're like, oh, hunched over, catching their breath or whatever. It's like, guys, you would have been crushed to death.
Right. But so MacGyver's running around and taking out the guys. And it's funny, too, because the one guy's sneaking up and he takes the bag and throws himself completely into the hit, which knocks him on the ground. Now, it's supposed that the reason they do that is to show that he's not Bruce Lee.
Right.
He's a guy struggling to fight, and, you know, he's going to throw himself on the ground if it knocks the guy out. Well, then he goes and runs to a cop, which is something because you go, all right, great, episode's over. You found a cop, and as he turns to say, oh, you know, and he's so full of like, I don't want to say swagger, but like he's excited, so he's letting his guard down. Boy, am I glad to see you. There's a couple fellows over there, and the guy hits him on the back of the neck and knocks him out. The thing that they do, and it's a nitpick for me, ultimately who cares, but it always bothers me when I see it. They show him hit the ground, and the clip that they use of him like rolling around discombobulated is from the end of the episode where the drugs have already taken effect, and he's got like the raccoon eyes and he's sweating like crazy. Like whoever was in editing just went,
it was probably,
you know,
and ironically, it's probably one of those instances where they're like, oh shoot, we didn't have that clip.
Right. And
they just went in, and that's one of those things that it would have been very easy to say, hey Richard, we need a pickup of this sequence. Not a problem, but for whatever reason they didn't. Yeah,
it always bothers me because
I mean, at least they didn't do what some people would have done and just use a clip from another episode where he's wearing something completely different.
Yeah,
because that's happened in some shows as well.
So they nab him. Oh, he had hidden, by the way, the list in a light pole earlier than this, which is great because no matter what happens to him, that means the bad guy still won't get it.
Yep.
And they bring him back, and this episode is one of those special episodes because he's a hurting bird through the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
he's not himself. You get you know, which if they did this too often,
at 100%,
right? If they'd done this too often, you get annoyed. But first season doing this, I remember thinking, oh man, because up until now he always has his wits about him, and he's but now doesn't remember who he is. He doesn't remember what to do. They bring him back, and I love this. They let him be afraid. They strap him to the chair, and he starts trying to make. Yeah, he starts making jokes like, you know, hypnotism's been known to work. The Russians have it down to a science because he's going to get the shot. And the guy's doing his spiel of here's what's going to happen. You have 6 hours and you're going to be dead. Guys, I really have a problem with shots, needles. Can we, you know? Yeah. And then he's like, you could see the look of fear on his face. I love that because he's human.
Yeah.
He's being a smart mouth, but at the same time, he doesn't know what they're going to put in him.
Yeah.
And then at the very last moment, he panics. And come on, guys, and tries to get up, and they put him in a a lock, an
Yeah,
arm bar.
they lock him
Or an
down
arm bar
more. Yeah.
around, yeah. Arm bar is different. But yeah, and just that, I can't breathe, I can't move, look on his face. And they put it on, put the stuff in him and then take him to the room. Now, this episode stands out, and I remember remembering this for some of the best MacGyverisms up until that point.
Mhm.
He's in a room, and they go, don't try anything. And they throw him in this room where there's just a bed without a sheet, just a mattress,
Yep.
a toilet stall, and a sink. That's okay. I get that.
Yeah.
Had this been anybody else, he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're done. There's nothing for you to work with. You can't Jimmy a lock, whatever. But MacGyver, of course,
He figured
MacGyver.
something out.
And
Yeah.
not only that, it's amazing because you could feel that tension of
Yeah.
him stringing the bed pieces together, pulling it, and in the middle of it, also having waves of,
Yes.
you know, he's out of it. He's like,
Yeah, not being himself. Yeah. It's a wild thing to watch someone who up until this point wasn't necessarily bulletproof, but was
always had a handle on the situation.
Yeah. He was in command of the situation, even though he didn't present himself as,
Right, macho guy. Right.
It was, hey, I've got an idea, this could work
Mhm.
or should work, and goes with it. And this is a situation where it's almost as if you wonder, part of the reason why he struggled was he was even questioning his own, I guess, sanity because of whatever this drug was doing to his brain.
Yeah. Yeah, he kept
'Cause they
having
didn't really
flashbacks.
because they didn't really heavily go into it, but they gave it enough that it made you think he was starting to maybe question reality.
Well, I'll tell you, watching it on disc, I've been watching it on TV in repeats for years,
Mhm.
where they butcher the crap out of certain scenes. To watch it as one solid piece, it paints a much better picture. Because throughout the episode, he's still like, all right, there's a cop. No, I can't trust the cop because that guy hit me. And, this guy, I'm having a vision of the bad guy smothering me with a pillow. Like, they don't do that when they show it as a repeat.
No.
So, yeah, I also love the little thing where he's going to use his belt from the faucet,
Yeah.
but it doesn't reach.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a 2-second thing where he goes, all right, adjust. It's not going to do it that way, but if I go under here and I take it apart, I can get it from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. That's such a great MacGyverism through the
Yeah,
whole.
because it's one of those that most people wouldn't have thought of something like that, but MacGyver would, because he is always thinking.
And he always says, he said, I only get one shot at this. And if you watch it, he doesn't send it to a locked door. He waits for them to come upstairs, lock it or unlock it, and start to open it. And then the thing hits the door and bashes them and breaks the guy's nose. He broke my nose.
Yep.
So then he runs and he's out of it bad. He's stumbling around, falling on his face. Elisa's out there with their friends talking about the fish that she caught. They think that she bought it. And against their better judgment, she goes, no, I have to help him. Look at that guy. He helped me. He's the one who helped me get the fish. He looks like he needs help.
Yeah.
And takes him to where she's living in an old abandoned apartment building.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was an old abandoned apartment.
And what's great is she tells her story, which you have to know. How did you become homeless? And it's heartbreaking, but it's also just enough.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times shows would go too sappy and let's focus more on her. No, she had to leave because her father beat the crap out of her and her mother.
Yeah.
Got it. And meanwhile, the bad guys, oh, by the way, the lead bad guy, I've seen him and stuff. Not that I knew this, but I looked him up. The blonde-haired German fella. You would know him from Star Trek. He played a whole bunch of characters through the years. Next Generation, a
That wouldn't surprise
Klingon.
me. A lot of people, like, if they used you as a character or a creature actor, for lack of a better wording, an alien actor, they would try to utilize you for a bunch of different things because prosthetics can make you look like completely
Anything.
different thing. Yeah.
And it's funny too because when I would watch them, it would take me a couple minutes and it would bother me, but I'm like, no, the twitches in his face. I know who this is.
The twitches in the face, the voice, something like with the way
Their delivery.
Yeah, there's something about this person that seems familiar. Yeah, would happen with me a lot. Definitely when I had done my rewatch of DS9. It's amazing how many people were on those programs that have been known for other things. Like I can't think of the actor's name. He was Red Foreman on that 70s show.
Sure. Yeah.
Kurtwood Smith.
Yep.
He was in Deep Space Nine. I think he was on TNG for something. Like all these actors that are well known for different things, all appeared in Star Trek in some form or another, be it way back in the original series or even some of the more recent stuff. It's wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Well, it's great because the clip that they typically take out is him laying in the bed, her bed, like sweating and having like a fever dream. And that's where you get to see the bad guy coming at him with the pillow. And I thought, you know what? Normally when I would see this episode, the way it was chopped up, it would aggravate me. I don't need all those flashbacks, but watching it as a whole piece, the way it should have been, you go,
it helps.
It helped a great deal. And especially,
absolutely.
hey, I've seen it a trillion times. So now I'm watching it again and going, that made a difference. And he wakes up, he's like, she's like, you all right? Yeah, just, and now I love the fact that her friends tell the bad guys where she is because they're worried about her. So it's not like they're jerks. They think they're helping.
Yeah, they genuinely, and it shows that even with the purest of intentions, you can inadvertently cause more harm than good.
Well, they show up. He does the distraction with the TV tube and the radio. And I love, and this was a big one too. I don't know why this meeting, it says it's going to end in 10 minutes. So we're going to try and wrap this up in 10 minutes.
Weird.
I don't know. But anyway, he does the whole, throws the hose out the window. And I love that just a little misdirection, as the magician said, a little misdirection never hurt.
Oh yeah, misdirection is always key in magic. Absolutely.
But no, what I'm saying is, for me personally, I've used that sort of mentality because you're right. If you set it up and somebody thinks you did one thing and you're in the same room hidden under a bed spring, box spring, nobody knows that. They think you ran out the window. I thought that was brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
So then let's see, they get out of there, they run. And then he tells her, go try and get a hold of Pete Thornton, who's back in the office with his arm in a sling. Yep.
Because again, he'd gotten shot, showing actual consequences, not just, brushes it off,
Well, then MacGyver goes back to the bad guy because now the last hour they said you start to get your memory back, which sounds good, but that means you only have an hour left.
Yep.
And he does this other great MacGyverism, which actually I'm going to read you. Somebody had a comment on it when they were saying what their favorite part of the episode is.
I think I know what exactly it is, but I'll let you tell.
The scene. Okay, this comes from Danny Robinson. Thank you, Danny. The scene when Mac leads the bad guys to the corridor by setting off the fire alarm. He's sitting on the stairs with his foot on a piece of rope, ready to release his MacGyverism. That short moment makes me laugh. It's true. Just the way he's like, yeah. The way he just says, you bet. Yeah. Because he goes, I don't feel so good, guys. Or get down here. Yeah. Okay. And then, it says, yeah, you bet. Yeah. When asked to come down, and he lifts his foot, and he had that thing where everything collapses on. That is brilliant. As they were all in the office, and for him to sneak around and just lean stuff.
Yep. And prep it.
That's great.
He knew, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to make it count.
Of course, then he says, and how Terry is supposedly homeless, yet she has perfectly manicured nails.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of...
Hey, girls got priorities, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't want to be too blatantly homeless.
Yeah. Pardon me.
Yep,
totally. And then it's just down to chasing down the bad guy, which again, he's running sloppily and dives at the guy. They land on the car, roll on the floor. The guy gets up, wins basically stands up before MacGyver does, takes the pill out and goes, too late, throws it, and it goes down the grate, which MacGyver, panics and tries to pull it off with his hands. Can't do it. But then does another fantastic MacGyverism.
Another wonderful MacGyverism,
right?
Yep.
And uses the pole to get the ions running to the other side by hitting it off the fire hydrant. And reaches down, fails the first time, it falls. He's running out of time. Tries it again, but then, and I love this little detail, his sleeve is stopping him from pulling up. It bunched up. So he has to reach into another hole and
unbunch it. Yep.
It's
the little attention to detail like that just helps show, one, realistically what could happen, and two, even somebody as intelligent as MacGyver will sometimes be their own stumbling block.
I just, it's such an early episode, and it's so great to be so early. Like there's no real, well, they hadn't found their footing, they don't know what they're doing. No, this is a major episode.
Yeah, because it shows that this is, I'd say it was probably, if not the turning point for the characters, that everybody has found their character.
Right, Pete in particular.
Yeah, like this is either that moment or one of those moments leading up to it.
And
because a lot of shows unfortunately don't get their footing until season 2.
Right.
So for this to happen in season 1 is impressive.
Or of course, I see the other side of it where the first season's great on shows, and then the second season they have the sophomore slump because somebody tries something that they didn't have to try.
Yep.
So yeah, and in the end, he sees Lisa and tells her he's going to see about getting her a scholarship, which is wonderful, and it's a nice way to end the episode. And that's
see her again.
No, but
we don't need to necessarily see her again.
Right. I'm sure they kept in touch.
Yeah, more likely. I mean,
set her up.
With what they've established, what they end up establishing with MacGyver throughout the first season, he stays in touch with people. May not necessarily be the perfect, correspondence, but he at least puts forth that effort.
Yeah. Just occasionally run into people on the street or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is it for that episode. I'm trying to make sure we have 4 minutes left. I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything.
I think you hit the big strokes of the episode.
Yeah. And also hang in there, everybody. I'll tell you some of the guests that I have coming up eventually. I was talking to Michael Greenberg, who follows me on Instagram.
Okay.
On the audio series page, and then on my personal one. And we got chatting, and he's working, I can't say on what. Something. And he said he won't be available till at least the summer. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not, but keep me in mind. I have the makeup artist who worked on both MacGyver and Stargate is supposed to be.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, she's going to be on. Braytac at some point when I can get him, Jay Acavone. But my point is, and of course Murdoch eventually.
Yes.
Because these guys say, yes, I want to be on your podcast. Now I just
got to work on the scheduling.
Yeah, exactly. But in the meantime, we'll do another Never Gets Old podcast episode, and I'm working on the audio series, which, by the way, little tease for the audio series, we will have a guest voice.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Not going to tell you who, but it'll pay off, and
I'll find out before everybody else does.
Yeah,
I'll make sure it's uploaded.
That's right. But if I can get certain characters to reprise their role and continue the story, they're all for it. Like, great.
Yeah, why not?
I didn't want to be greedy, but they
Plus,
said,
it gives your voice a little bit of a rest.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Obviously, look for us on the Forever Adventure Network. This will also be on YouTube, this episode.
Yep.
So if you want to see our smiling faces, that's where you'll see it.
And the wonderful decor that we both have.
Exactly. And we will catch you next time. And as always, remember.
Stay excited.
Nope.
Oh, shoot. Wrong one. Stay creative.
Boom! There you go. Bye,
A
everybody.
minute.
The MacGyver podcast is part of the Forever Adventure Network and made possible by donations to the Forever Adventure Network by Mac Jackson on Patreon. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever podcasts are heard. And follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember, stay creative, everyone. The Forever Adventure Network. Welcome to the adventure.